Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 64th Foreman community demo. So, please increase the quality of the video for better experience and ask questions on us. So, sorry, there was a network issue. Ask questions on IRC or on the chat, YouTube chat. Today, as we see, we have a lot on the agenda. But before we start with the agenda, I would like to show you something. We have a lot of events coming in the community. So finally, Foreman birthday event is on 25th July. So I'm quite excited for the birthday event. Foreman has finally completed its 10 years. And then we have DEF CONF India and DEF CONF US. So if you're around, come say a hi and collect the Foreman swags. Moving on to the agenda today. So first off, we have Justin Sherrill who will talk about Pulp 3 introduction. So over to you, Justin. I think Justin, you're mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm here to talk about the Pulp3 integration with Catello. Catello uses Pulp2 currently for content management, and Pulp3 is in heavy development. It's one of the most exciting features is that it doesn't use Mongo, it uses Postgres, and hopefully it's being optimized more for the use cases that Catello needs, as well as some new workflows. And we're slowly migrating Catello over to it in a manner that allows us to maintain Pulp2 compatibility while migrating to Pulp3. And the Pulp3 is currently in an RC4, I believe, or they're about to release an RC4. But their first few RCs were, I would call them more in the beta term, but they are getting more and more stable as they move towards a GA release. To start off with, we added support in the smart proxy to know that a Pulp3 is installed and what features it has, what plugins are installed. So if this command just hits the features API of the smart proxy, and you can see there's a Pulp3 feature, and it's actually reporting what capabilities that Pulp3 server has. So you can see this one has Ansible, Docker, and the file plugin. So we can use this information to decide at runtime if an action is meant to be performed for a repository, should it be directed to Pulp2 or to Pulp3. And this allows us to incrementally add support into master without disrupting the Pulp2 code base. So today you can deploy Pulp3 in a development box only and start playing around with it. We have this wiki page here if you want more information about Pulp3, and a tasks list here if you want to see our progress among the different content types. For example, for file support, we're about 60% done, and you can see the tasks that are in progress or are not started yet, or the ones that are done. And next, following me, we've got a few people showing our work that we've done to make Pulp3 work with various content types within Catello. That's it.
Great. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's move on to know how Pulp3 file content works. So next is James. Over to you, James.
Hey, good morning. My name is James. I'm one of the team members, pretty new to the Catello team. I'm just going to walk through some of the basic file type support for Pulp3. And hopefully by now you should be seeing my screen. So I've already set up a product. I'm going to go ahead and add a file type repository. And I'm just going to call it demo. I'm going to select type as file, and I'm going to specify the upstream URL. And I'll save that. And there it is. And I now want to go ahead and sync that. And while it's syncing, all of these interactions are actually working with Pulp3 in the background. In a few minutes after this completes, I'm going to show you an actual curl query to the Pulp3 server locally, just to give you an indication that, yep, Pulp3 is working, and that's what we're working with. All right. Oh, looks like we got a failure. I'm not sure what that failure is, but I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the information you would get from Pulp3. You can query the Pulp3 API directly with curl, and you can see some of the previous interactions. In this case, we've got Pulp3 repositories listed. And you'll notice the important thing is that Pulp3 server working off of port 24817, and you could just hit the repositories link, and it's going to show you a list of all the repositories. Likewise, you can also look at all the file types, file content types that are in that Pulp3 repository. Okay. All right, I'm not exactly sure what the problem is, but that's some of the basic file support. If I can figure out what the problem is, I can come back later and finish the rest of the demo, but I think maybe we can move on to one of the other
Sure.
contributors. Well, I figured this out. Thank you.
So James, from what I understand is the files that are present. You wanted to demonstrate that the files that are present on that link from where you pasted that URL, would those files and those links can be seen on Foreman later on in the repository? Is that what we can see on the Foreman?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that become more obvious once the you can see that within Foreman itself.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so next, moving on to Pulp3 integration with Ansible content. So moving on to Samir.
Hey, my name is Samir and I work with the Catalog team. Let me share my screen. Hope you can see my screen. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So today I'm going to demo Ansible collection content type support in Catalog. So collections are a new are a new distribution format for Ansible content. You can package and distribute multiple playbooks, roles, modules, and plugins, etc., into one collection. And so I have some example links here. So these collections will be hosted on Galaxy, and it is a tech preview starting Ansible 2.8. So where does Ketelo fit in here is that Pulp3 has a Pulp Ansible plugin, which adds support to host and manage Ansible collection content. So using that, we are trying to introduce some management support for collections. So I've added a few links for the plugin and some of the work that is going in. And let's move on to the demo. So First, I'd like to show how to enable this content type in your dev setup. So the file we want to look at is in the Foreman directory, config settings catalog.yaml. So inside this file, you can see all of the content types that are listed and set to true. You need to add Ansible collection and set it to true to enable support for Ansible collections. I'll exit this. All right, once you do that, you will need to restart your server. So I have my server running already, so I'll just move on. So next we can go ahead and create a new repository. So let's name this repo. Uh, we have a new type Ansible collection. For creating repositories, you need to provide an upstream URL that will be the endpoint from where you want to sync collections. So let's go ahead and use Galaxy. For the whitelist field, you can add collection names dot namespace that you want to sync from this endpoint. So let's go ahead and copy one from the help text. All right, this looks good. We can go ahead and save this. So while this works, we can go back to the terminal and see the repository getting created in Pulp3. All right. So this is the repository that we created. So this is the name. We also append a uniquely generated integer here to make sure it's always unique. And if you see, we have a version created. Uh, okay, I'm sorry. We don't have a version created. We need to let this finish right now. All right. So this is the repository that was created. We don't have this synced. So right now we don't have any content here. And hopefully we should have a version created now. Yeah. So if you see, we have created a version 1 of this repository, which will not have any content since we haven't synced this. So we can go ahead and sync this repo. All right, so this seems to have succeeded. Now, if we go back and look at the same repository, we should hopefully see a second version of the repository created. If you look here, the version incremented to 2. Also, if you actually go ahead and so if you go ahead and look inside this version, we see that we added one collection count here. So we can also go back to this screen and look at that collection on the UI. So this is the collection. So we synced one collection. This is the page. You can click on this and go to the details view. So this shows you the details like name, namespace, version, etc. And you can also look at all the repositories that this collection is tied to. Along with that, we have an org-wide view for Ansible collections. So here you can see in your org, we have one Ansible collection, which is collection demo, and you can read the details page from here as well. So that's it for this demo.
Thank you, Samir. This was highly informative. Next up, we have Pulp3 Docker content by Ian. So over to you, Ian.
Alrighty, thank you. So yeah, my name is Ian. I'm relatively new to the Catella team. And what I'll be showing you today is our Pulp3 work with Docker. So it's still a work in progress. We have everything up to pretty much syncing. And I'll just be showing you what we can do along the way. So on the left terminal, I'll be showing you Pulp3 queries, and on the right, I'll be showing you what I'm doing in Docker. So yeah, let's check this out. So first, I'm going to create a new Docker repository. We'll sync the repo that I use here. So we have the upstream URL and the repo name, and we save it. Okay, so you can see it got created here. So now what I'll show you is the repo in Pulp3. So you see I have two repos here, and this is the one I just created. You can see its name, Hill, and then you can see some of the information about it. Now let's also take a look at another thing that was created, which is the remote. So this is how with Pulp3 you can actually use to sync this repository. So this is the remote that was created. You can see the upstream name, you can see the policy here, the URL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this, and then we're going to see how this changes. So let's see here. Let's change the sync tags here, the whitelist tags. So I'll change it to something you might see like latest and 1.23, something like that. So we updated the tags, and now we'll look at the remote again, and you can see that they got changed here. So those popped up. Now the next thing we'll try is let's do a deletion. So I'll go over to Hill, the repo I made, and we will remove the repository. Okay, let's give it a second to see when it gets finished. Okay, it was removed. Now let's make sure that the repository was actually removed. Okay, so we just have our one repository from before. That one was already there when we started. And then we'll check for the remote again to see that it's actually gone. And I queried for it, Massimo Clad Hill, and it's not there anymore. So that's the create, read, update, and destroy from the repository standpoint. Now syncing is also a work in progress, but I did have a repository that I did sync before successfully. You can see over here we have this the multi-arc one. You can see after the sync there were 2 manifests, 1 manifest list, and then 3 tags. So we can query in Pulp3 here for the actual synced information. So I'm going to look up the versions here. This is the one that got created. And if you look, you can see the synced information. So for manifest blobs, we have 4. For Docker manifests, we have 3, which adds up because 2 manifests and 1 manifest list. And then we have 3 manifest tags here. So that's the sync working. And that isn't in master yet, but it will be soon. And yeah, that's pretty much what we have now for Docker. There'll be more to come for sure.
Thanks, Ian. And hopefully when it actually gets merged and things are ready, you would again be back for the demo. So next up, we have Merrick, who will tell us about impersonate other users. So over to you, Merrick.
All right, thank you very much. So before I will start with the demo of the feature itself, I have to say that, well, I initiated this feature, but actually it was Ondra Praja who finished that. So thanks a lot for that. And I'm happy to show what cool stuff he did. All right. So the use case for this is basically if you are an administrator and you want to debug some, let's say, permission configuration, you would like to see how the Foreman is viewed by a different user. And prior to this feature, you would actually have to ask the user for his password or sit with him or her and see what they see, right? But now we have this new feature called Impersonation. So right now I'm logged in as admin user, and I want to see what this user Marek sees in this format. So if you go to the users list, there's a new action Impersonate. Clicking that just changes your account to actually that user account. There is an information like if you want to cancel the impersonation session, you just click the blinking eye here. So this is a blinking icon telling you you are right now impersonating someone. It's on purpose such highlighted, maybe even to some extreme, because it would be pretty bad if you went to get some cup of coffee and then returned back and forgot that you are actually working on a different user account. So as you can see, I don't see all the menu items here. I don't see actions because this user only has viewer permission. Now, if I want to go back, I just click on this icon. I need to confirm I want to stop the impersonation, and then I'm back as admin user. There are a few edge cases or things that I would like to highlight as well. So I can't impersonate myself. That's why you don't see this action for my account here. If there's a new user who doesn't have the email address filled in yet, as you may know, if you log in as such user, you're forced to type your email address. And the same thing will actually apply here. So you impersonated a user without the email address, so you would need to fill it in here. But we can also go back. And there are two more things I wanted to show. So let's say I impersonate another user who has manager capabilities. So this is this one, manager. So I'm going to impersonate this person. And now imagine that this person actually creates or does some activity that will end up in creating some audit record. So I create a new host group. And then I can look at audits. And in here, it's important to note that the audit is actually created under the impersonated account. We don't store any information like this was done during the impersonification session. So this is like really, I'm working under that user account. So that is important to keep in mind. And another thing is what happens if I log out as this user. So if I just log out, it logs me out, and I need to log in back as the administrator. This just logs out the user regardless of what account he was logged in under. Now, you may also ask what users are able to do the impersonification. So there's a specific permission that you need to have in order to do it. So you can grant that to another user. But the manager, or if I'm already impersonating someone, I can't go deeper. So if I go back to the users page under a different user, there is no impersonate button here. So I need to cancel the impersonation session and then do it again. And I think that's really it.
Thank you, Merrick. That was a very nice feature. Okay, so we have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. There is no question on the chat, but I have a question. Can you block certain users from being impersonated? Like you create a user that you don't want to allow anyone to impersonate for any reason?
So if I understand the question correctly, you as a user would like to prevent admin or someone with the permission to actually take over your account, right?
Yes.
And that's okay. So that's not possible right now. But honestly speaking, if you are administrator, you already have a lot of permissions to the system, and in the worst case, you could probably do some other stuff. So the short answer is no. It's not possible right now. And you need to trust your admins.
Great. Okay, so Thanks, Merrick, for explaining us how impersonation would work. Next up, we have Ole, who will tell us about environment options in Hammer and also about field feature in Hammer. So over to you, Ole.
Hi, one second, let me share my screen. Okay. Do you see the terminal?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So it will be a really short demo. What I'm going to talk about is at first environment options, because previous it was being like really misleading what option you use when Catel is installed, because there are two environments actually, Puppet environment or lifecycle environment. So as a user, I can actually forgot what environment is required from me. So we decided to deprecate an environment option in Hammer prior to Puppet environment or lifecycle environment. I'll just show you and add some command. Okay, so the old environment option is still here, but it's now deprecated. So you should use Puppet environment option. They both are working the same way, but you should be aware that you might to change or update your scripts which use Hammer. Okay. Actually, I could show you that it works, but so you see the deprecation warning, and the old option works the same way as a new one. We decided to tell about this change because it really can break your or some user script. Okay, that's it for it. The next one is a new feature in Hammer Core that works with any plugin. It is called fields option. So if you go to any commands help which supports okay, in other words, for example, host command supports such subcommands as list or info, and those commands and those subcommands have a specific output like table or just some data, and you may want to see only some fields or some data from the whole picture, and the fields option is the way to do it. You just specify fields that you want to see actually. I'll just show it. So without this option, it just prints all the information that host has, as you may see. But if you're interested in specific fields, like, I know, just for easy example, network, or just IP of a specific host, and now you can specify what fields you want to see. Okay. I forgot to add this. Okay. Now you see only the data that you want to see. It works with nested fields or just general fields like game network or operating system. Okay, what else? This feature has also so-called field sets. I'll show you that each command has its own field set. Okay. Those are predefined field sets, and currently there are only 3. So maybe I should choose another example. Okay, by default, for example, for host information, by default is printed all those fields. But if you specify, for example, scene field set, it will print just ID and name. Yeah, one more thing. The field sets must be written in uppercase. Only ID and name. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Ole. That was very informative. I think all our Hammer folks will benefit from the new feature fields, and yeah, thanks for that. So next up, we have Amir, who will talk about slot and fill. So over to you, Amir.
Hello. Just a second. Let me share my screen and zoom up a little bit. Let's do a full screen. So today I will demonstrate slot and fill. So let's start about what is slot and fill. So slot and fill basically allows plugin to extend Foreman core functionality. So as you know, we are now using React, and we use React components, and we need a way to extend React components. You cannot extend React components by deface. That wouldn't work because deface basically use the actual DOM, while React components uses, of course, the virtual DOM. So don't use deface in order to extend React components. So for that, we basically developed slot and fill in order to extend core React components. Of course, you can also replace deface with React implementation. And why you should use slot and fill, why you should replace deface implementation with slot and fill, because first of all, it's opinionated way to do so, and deface is not. Second, it's fully testable. You can test it. You can add unit tests, and of course, you can add. We of course want to have also end-to-end tests, and also it's a client solution. So the round trip is only for data, not for the layout, not for HTML, only for data. So because of that, the filling is a little bit more quicker, and I think it's a nice thing to have. So let's talk about the components we have in slot and fill. First of all, we have the slots. As you can see here, the slot needs an ID, and also we have a multi prop. A slot can support in multiple fields or only one field. And as you can see in the field, we have a wait prop in order to basically to order fields, and basically the one that has the higher weight will be rendered first. Also, you can add slot via the ERB, as you can see here. You only need to add the ID for that slot, and true or false if it's multi-slot or not multi-slot, not supporting multi-fields. So, of course, stay tuned for a deep dive. We will do a deep dive in the upcoming weeks. We will show you how slot in field works, and we will deep dive into the code. But let's do some demo now. First of all, we have some documentations in our storybook. So if you don't know, just run npm run storybook in order to generate your storybook in your local environment. And as soon as you do that, you get that storybook page. And we have a lot of documentation from UI perspective in our storybook. So we have a new slot and fill section. You can see the current slot list, and now we have only in the about page. And you can also see a full documentation, how to use it, and so on. Let's go to Foreman. And as you can see, I'm in the about page. We have a slot in the about footers, and you can add basically sections into the about page. And we add a field. We added a field in Catelo basically to add a new content via slot and fill into this page. And as you can see, the backend system status is based on React now, and it's fully testable. We replaced the deface implementation into slot and fill. Also, this is only for demonstration. As you can see here, I added a slot into our layout, and only in Catelo, you can see this nice launcher. And of course, it's only for demonstration. This is not really exist. But as soon as you click on this, you can, of course, go into, it's like a shortcut for Catelo pages. And it's only for, you can imagine what things you can do with slot and fill. And it's really, really nice to have. And just imagine what kind of things you can do with slot and fill. That's it. Of course, stay tuned for the deep dive. We will do it, I think, next or in 2 weeks from now. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Amir. That was a really great and informative demo. We can't wait for your deep dive, and thanks for all your contributions. So before we end today's community demo, Merrick has something that he wanted to cover. So over to you again, Merrick.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm sorry for stealing the microphone again, but actually I realized just after the demo that I shared, or I misinformed about one thing, which is there is no permission for the impersonification itself. Only administrators can do that. So for those who don't know, we have users who either are admins, you can tell by the flag, and they need to be explicitly set as administrators here in the roles. So only those who are administrators can actually do the impersonification. There's no permission for that. And the other thing that there were a few questions about, so Ori started that, and then we had a short discussion on IRC, is so administrators can do things under the user. And as I demoed, there is the audit trail is under the impersonificated account. But in order to tell what happened, you can look at the audit history, and you can see that we also create an audit for the impersonification itself. So here we can say administrator user impersonated user Marek. Also, thanks to that, we create an audit record. We also basically pass it to the logs in the audit logger. So yeah, that's it.
Great. Today's demo is turning out to be very enthusiastic. We again have Ole who wants to cover one more thing that he had not shared in his demo. So again, back to Ole.
Yeah, sorry, and thank you. It will be really a small thing. And just for you to know that in other words, why it can be interesting from a scripting perspective, because it works, I'm talking about the fields option now, it works with scripting well. So if you want to, again, just a really simple case, if you want to collect from all your hosts but only IPs, and send it to, I don't know, as input to another script or anything. But in JSON or YAML, you can specify it with output adapter. So this feature works with any output adapter Hammer Connect has. Like, for example, IP addresses in one JSON as output. Also, it supports YAML, etc. And that's it. That's a small thing.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we come to the end of 64th Foreman community demo. We have both event next week coming up. So if you're around in Nuremberg, then meet us, come to our booths, talk to us, say hi, and be safe. We'll see you in the next community demo. And till then, you can talk to us on IRC and follow us on Twitter. So yeah, see you in the next demo.